All right, all right, all right, all right. Okay. Back in the building. Back for another stream. How we doing? How we doing? All right. Okay. We have a lot to talk about this week. There have been a bunch of expansions and stuff, which is great. We love to see that. I feel like whenever it's a slow week, it means that there's horrible stuff happening. And there's always, every week, there's horrible stuff happening with transit. But this is actually a week where we have like good news. So it's great to see that. Um, yeah, so we have a bunch of stories we're going to talk about this week. So this will probably be a longer stream. I'm gonna try to get through these as quickly as possible, though. So we have Skyline news, of course, because the Honolulu Skyline that opened last week. I want to say it was like a week ago, right? I don't know. These weeks are starting to blend in, but so that opened. So we are gonna talk about what the first week of service, how the first week of service went. So we had three stories for that, and then we have. So then we have the DC area is getting not a complete remodel of what transit's going to be, but they're looking at about like what the next 10 years in the DC area is going to look like. So we have two stories there. And then we have, of course, we have to talk about SEPTA. So then there's some of the bad news going on over there. But we're going to talk about SEPTA for a little bit. And then we're going to go all the way down to Florida. We're going to talk about Miami-Dade and their new BRT, which is great. So we have three of those stories. Then we have the Kansas City streetcar, which the KC streetcar extension just opened and is actually has been a project that's been in the planning stages and then building stages for a while now. So that just opened. So that's great. So we're going to talk about that too. And then we're going to talk about, briefly, we're going to talk about Philly and their bike lanes. The city council just passed a bill to reinstate the bike lanes and bike safety for those lanes. So that's always, we always like to see that type of stuff. And then we're going to talk about the Dart Silver Line, which is the main thumbnail of this video. So the Dart Silver Line just opened yesterday to passengers. So we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about some New York City news, and we'll end it on Metro North expanding to Albany, which is great. Yeah, I definitely want to get to that story. So we're gonna race through these stories. May or may not watch all these news stories, but you know, it's whatever. We'll see how it goes. All right, first story. Silver Line riders have been inconvenienced by mechanical and communications failure. So, first week was a little bit wonky with the Silver Line. Let me just play this story because it's kind of funny, but it's also kind of like, why is this happening? All right.
60,000 rides in the first 4 days after segment 2 opened, but the city is apologizing for some mechanical and communications errors.
As our Daryl Huff reports, two elevators at a key station remain barricaded, even though the city says they had been repaired.
Elevators are key to the rail stations, especially for people with disabilities, and at stations like this one that doesn't have an escalator.
I came here and the elevator was broken.
And just so you know, so like the second phase of the Honolulu Skyline, so all the other stations that were built in phase one had escalators. So they all had escalators. And even though, like, if you look at those stations, they are kind of in the middle of nowhere for now, there's going to be a lot of development around those stations. But it is kind of funny because they're basically building the system backwards, but then also they kind of overbuilt the stations, the first stations with escalators and elevators and all that type of stuff. And so then when they got to the airport station and they got to the second phase, then they were like, we don't have enough money to build all these escalators. So they took the escalators out the plan. And so now it's only elevators and stairs, which is really unfortunate when you have a literal station at the airport. That's not good. We kind of want to make sure that we can have people who have heavy luggage and stuff like that at the airports be able to get to our trains. But you know, they're underfunded, so that's kind, yeah, exactly. It's diabolical, pretty much. But so yeah, let's that's a little bit of added context. I don't think that they covered that fact.
I came here and the elevator was broken. I go, oh!
Bicyclist Kelvin Chun showed us today how hard it is to get a bike up the steep stairs, especially since the slot designed for bike wheels doesn't really work.
I had a hard time because the handle was in the
This man he's so chill though. He's like, okay, in New York, like whenever there's an elevator that's broken or whatever, and like the people are not this chill about it. Shout out to that's that Hawaii like environment, bro. Like people are he was like, oh, I have to carry my heavy bike up all these stairs. Oh, okay. Like all right. And then this, like, I never knew that this was actually for bikes, because I've seen this in like stairwells and stuff like that for public transportation. I never knew that this was for bikes. I just thought it was just built like that because, well, I don't know, it's like a beam or something. But yeah, no, I didn't really expect this to actually work for bikes. I'm not gonna lie. Well, we haven't talked about much. We literally just started, but we have a lot left to talk about.
Designed for bike wheels doesn't really work.
I had a hard time because the handle was in the way, so I had to carry this up 3 flights of stairs, and I saw the train coming, and I gotta run.
Yeah, he's smiling, but that's pain, because this station, the airport station, is the tallest station on the network, and so he's literally carrying up 3 flights of stairs, like you said, and it's just back and forth with this heavy bicycle, just because this elevator is quote unquote out of service. We'll see what the elevator really is in a little bit.
Upstairs, and I saw the train coming, and I gotta run.
Early this afternoon, the Skyline intercom was still warning those already on the trains.
Attention all passengers, on wall, Lagoon Drive station elevators 1 and 2 are out of service.
We watched riders struggle with luggage and a man stranded in his motorized wheelchair. 85-year-old Tetsui Fowler could barely make it to the platform 4 stories above the street.
What? They got this old lady climbing up all these stairs. What are they doing? You don't realize how important escalators are sometimes, but that's the thing. Escalators, when it's a heavily used station like this one, they're extremely important. So it's kind of a shame that they built the system kind of backwards in that way, where the escalators are in like the least used stations, and then in the most used stations, like the heavily used stations, they're not there. So that's kind of a shame, but.
Yeah, that's too, all for people, the hard for, too hard. So need the elevator, So they need to fix it.
And it's brand new.
Yes.
It turns out the city says they were already fixed early yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of an embarrassment for us because as it turns out, yesterday the elevators were actually in working order. Nobody was told to take the barricades down, and we at DTS just assumed that they were not fixed.
No, the city recorded.
So the entire time the elevator was working, the entire time, but the person who last fixed it just didn't take down the barriers and take down the sign. So the entire time the elevator was. This is not how you want to start your day. Like start out your first week of ridership. This is not how you want to start it out. Because again, like I say, like everybody, the first week is always where people are coming to test out the system and see like, hey, is this reliable? Is this like this is this is what gets people to not come. Yeah. Went out for a smoke or like went to the bathroom and just forgot. This is this is that type of stuff. Oh my gosh.
Intermittent elevator problems at least 4 stations. The rail operating company Hitachi is required to respond rapidly to problems, especially when the only alternative is the stairs.
There was a elevator technician available at one of the stations in a mobile car, ready to go to wherever they were dispatched.
Hitachi also has a van to help stranded people with disabilities get to an accessible station. The mayor says useless elevators are unacceptable, but called the issue a hiccup in an otherwise solid opening for the 4-station segment, which delivered about 20,000 rides on the first 2 days and 40,000 on the free ride weekend.
That's actually really good. That's really good ridership, especially like for the way the system is right now. That's actually really good ridership. So
to build our ridership to 25,000 a day, I think we're off to a good start. Quite honestly, the first 2 days were encouraging.
A couple of broken elevators may not sound like a big story, but it is an indication of the maintenance challenges that the city is taking on with this massive brand new system.
all right. So that was just a little bit of a hiccup, but we're going to go to the better news now. So because of the Skyline system ridership surge, the Skyline has actually seen double the ridership that it was previously getting just in one day. So that's huge news. So this is starting a lot of talks of expansions and interesting things that they can do with this system. So let's look at that.
New tonight, it's been a week since the city opened 5 more miles of the rail line, added new bus routes, and extended the hours. As our Daryl Huff reports, ridership has more than doubled.
Until segment 2 opened, the system averaged about 4,200 rides on weekdays. The weekday average this week was over 10,000. The happiest new customers may be UH Manoa students.
I love the U-Line because it just goes on the freeway now and it's a lot faster. Because of all the traffic and stuff like that, I get to avoid most of that.
With new express buses, UH students can get from the west side to school reliably in under an hour.
Wish it came every 30 minutes like other buses, but there's not many people on it anyway, so I could see why they would do that, especially with the bus driver shortages.
But some are concerned about safety at the station.
Would you use it late at night or anything like that?
Probably not. I mean, there are security, but it's not like guaranteed that they're going to be there like 24/7 or when you need them.
The city transportation director says there are 1,600 cameras in the train stations and parking lots, backed by private security and Honolulu police.
Those cameras are equipped with AI so that if there is a disturbance, hopefully the camera will pick it up and alert the 24/7 security monitor that's watching all the cameras.
Morton said both drivers and the city are in learning mode when it comes to parking. The UH West Oahu park and ride was nearly full this morning, while just 3 minutes away, there was lots of room at the next stop, Ho'opili. In Waipahu, a small kiss and ride was full, with cars clearly violating the 10-minute limit. Note the windshield sunshades.
We know that people.
Oh yeah, this person definitely. No, actually, both of them. This is supposed to be a 10-minute like stop. Like they left their cars. They really took this as free parking, which I don't know.
Violating the 10-minute limit. Note the windshield sunshades.
We know that people are parking there all day, and ultimately there will be enforcement. We're not doing a lot of enforcement right now because we're just kind of assessing the situation.
Morton says there is a 24-hour limit for park and ride lots, so people can leave vehicles overnight. The rail system was built by HART, an independent agency, and it turned it over to the city for the bus system and the rail. Now HART is proposing that it take over the whole system. The proposal from HART CEO Lori Kahikina says having a single transit agency will improve collaboration in planning, construction, and operations, and unify the system's financing. Morton doesn't disagree, but it's not the time to reorganize.
We need to.
That's interesting that, having two separate transit agencies. So like you have HART, which is just the rail, and then you have the other one, which is the bus. So now you have two different transit agencies, which just make it so that, especially when it comes to funding, it makes it, and coordination, it makes stuff a little bit strange. But, I think that HART right now isn't a large enough system yet to really, like, once they have phase 3, then I think you can start talking about consolidation. But right now, it's just, it's still like, it just goes from the airport out to the suburbs. It's not really, it just needs to get more into downtown before it really starts becoming like a full-fledged system.
Morton doesn't disagree, but it's not the time to reorganize.
We need to figure out how we're going to get to Ala Moana, how we're going to get beyond Ala Moana and those things. And to try to take this on right now, I think would be a distraction.
Mayor Blangiardi's office says he has told Kahikita the same thing, that HART's focus should be on completing Skyline's last segment. The concept would require voters' approval. Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
So he talked about, phase 3 is quote unquote the last segment, right? But because this expansion has been so successful, phase 2 as it is has been so successful, they're actually thinking about what could we do with the phase 4. Okay, so now that's outside of the funding that has been allocated to the HART system. So there still would need to be, like, they would have to find more funding and stuff like that for phase 4. But the fact that off of phase 2 it's been so successful that they're like, oh wait, we can probably extend this a little bit further. That's kind of interesting.
The Honolulu Rail Authority is building momentum to extend the rail line, not just to Ala Moana, but to the university and further west. And the next step could be asking taxpayers for more money. Daryl Huff has the story.
After doubling the ridership by adding 5 miles to the system, city and state officials are trying to seize on that to win over lawmakers to pay for more than the $10 billion already committed. Mainland contractor Tudor Perini is being paid $1.6 billion to build the third rail segment from Kalihi to Kaka'aka. Today, the HART Board approved giving the company $53 million more to design a segment from Kaka'ako to Ala Moana Center, even though that's beyond the current federally approved plan.
For us to be able to actually start spending money to design the for the Skyline to go from Civic Center to Ala Moana is a really important step, and we need to pause a moment to recognize that.
The $53 million price for designing 1.25 miles of guideway and 2 more stations was an option HART had to trigger by next month.
We all know the later we wait, the more expensive it gets with escalation and everything else.
Actually building the project to Ala Moana is estimated at another $1.6 billion, and no one knows what it might cost to get to UH, Waikiki, or West Kapolei. But HART is ready to start planning with City Council approval.
After all, UH, Manoa, and Waikiki are 2 of the most trafficked destinations, travel destinations on the island. And if we don't go to those locations, then we're not really fulfilling our purpose.
The potential for massive expansion led the board to put off a proposal that HART also run the entire rail and bus system, despite agreement that a single transit agency would be more efficient.
Both entities, HART and DTS, hiring consultants to do redundant work. Our staffing, there's redundancy. If we could just be one agency, that would be.
So she's really she's really pushing for this consolidation so that they can, and that is true. Like I said, like the funding, you are both hiring, you're doing redundant work, right? It's like there's a lot of redundancy. So there needs to be, in order to consolidate, you would probably save a lot of money doing this. And so I think after phase 3, if they are going to go to Waikiki, I think it's like you need to consolidate the agencies as they are right now. That way you can actually afford to go out there. That way it's not going to be $1.6 billion or whatever. It could probably be a little bit lower, maybe like 1.4 or something like that, because you're not double hiring consultants. It just doesn't make any sense.
we could have a better thought out system to provide to the public.
The state transportation director said focusing on expansion is also better politics.
This is funded by a state funding mechanism. And I want to make sure that we can sell this extension to our state legislators. And overall, the focus of building out has been the big selling point.
Getting the legislature to quickly extend the rail tax or come up with some other source of money will be a challenge. This project only benefits Oahu, and neighbor island lawmakers have a lot of power. Plus, dealing with federal cuts will be higher on the agenda.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how the rest of the state and the other islands, like how they'll like approach this. Obviously, it'll still be beneficial for the other islands just because of the state's economy would be greatly boosted by having this train line. But it's costly. It is costly, and then having the federal money not really flowing in right now, it's an issue. But who knows? Like every 4 years, there's a new federal administration. So it's like it is just because right now it doesn't seem like this administration wants to fund public transportation doesn't mean that the next administration won't. So it still means it's still good to actually plan these extensions, especially plan them after opening, and like there needs to be a constant expansion. That way you can actually retain the knowledge. That way consulting and stuff like that is cheaper in the long run. So yeah, hopefully they go down this route. It is an expensive route, but it's going to be a lot cheaper in the long run than waiting 10 years or whatever to restart the project like they did with like the Second Avenue subway or something like that. All right. The next story we have is talking about DC and transit around DC, the DC area. It's going to be a quick one.
The pandemic may seem like a long time ago, but for transportation agencies like Metro, it has taken years to get back on track in terms of ridership. Now, as Metro looks to the next 10 years, it sees new issues that need to be addressed to keep people moving. News 4 transportation reporter Adam Tuss has details of a new multi-year Metro improvement plan.
Well, look, Metro has to keep thinking about how it's going to improve years down the line.
Yeah, that's a big mic. Look at the cover from the mic. I don't know why the cover from the mic is so big, but the mic quality is so trashed. The mic is huge, but the quality is still trash. I don't know.
Line. Now, funding challenges, that could present an issue, but still, the transit agency looking at things like second station entrances, even right here at the Ballston station. How about new tunnels in the downtown core and better bus and rail networks? All of that is on the table.
Well, what does Metro really need to focus on in the coming years? For longtime rider Holly Beth, the answer is easy.
I like the idea of on-time service, of clean and safe transportation.
But large upgrades usually don't come cheap.
It's always money.
Rider Herb says Metro will have to likely keep rebuilding itself.
For the next 4 or 5 years, I think so. The reason being is that we're expanding, but we're not expanding transit.
Metro does say issues like inflation could mean some financial constraints going forward. So the transit agency is trying to identify improvements that provide more bang for the buck. One of the ideas now being heavily talked about, an east-west rapid bus system with its own lanes that goes from Roslyn across DC and ends near Benning Road near the RFK Stadium site. That service could essentially supplement the blue, orange, and silver lines. Metro General Manager Randy Clark.
We need some type of other throughput to move tens and tens of thousands of people. So it's a really, really important thing that we get this crosstown bus moving with some urgency.
Other plans detail pedestrian tunnels connecting downtown Metro stations like Farragut North and West and Gallery Place in Metro Center. A more formalized presentation will be sent to the Metro board next month. Along the Metro system, Adam Tuss, News 4.
Metro says in addition to local dollars, it will likely also need an infusion of federal funding to complete new upgrades.
Oh, of course they would. Of course. It's DC. Of course they would. But I thought honestly, I thought there was going to be a little bit more there. I mean, aside from a BRT, let's see the next story. Maybe there's a little bit more that's missing.
Reporting in Loudoun, Kelly Vaughn, WUSA 9.
The big decisions are coming about the future of how we get around the D.C. area. Next week, leaders will roll out a long-term plan shaping what's next for trains and buses.
Today, we got a preview of what the future could look like for MARC, VRE, and Amtrak. Matt Gregory is live outside of Union Station this afternoon. Matt, why is this necessary?
Now listen, I know it, you know it, everyone watching this knows this, you guys. Traffic in here is the worst in America. I mean, I guess it's up there with LA. They could compete for that. But that's why regional leaders say what we really need is a plan to get folks off the 95 and the beltways and onto the railways.
Hold on, wait a second. I need to give him his proper. Hold on.
That's why regional leaders say what we really need is a plan to get folks off the 95 and the beltways and onto the railways.
Nah, I'm just happy about how proud he was of that, you know? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Inside Union Station every day, tourists and visitors may trot through, but the real backbone of passengers is commuters.
We ain't gonna talk about the traffic. We ain't gonna talk about the traffic out here, man.
Trayvon McIntyre says the gridlock between D.C. and Baltimore isn't his only challenge. He doesn't have a car.
Everybody that I would ask to take me out there, they be like, nah, I ain't gonna know. You got gas money? What?
McIntyre is one of thousands of people who depend on commuter rail like MARC Train and VRE to get around the DMV.
Without MARC Train, I wouldn't be able to go to the job that I'm going to right now.
And today, just across Union Station, a room of DMV transit experts
And if you put trains in place, people will ride.
talked about the future of commuters like Trayvon.
More rails, more service means more options for folks at home, and that's exciting.
Clark Mercer is the executive director of the Council of Governments. That's one of the groups behind the DMV Moves initiative that today looked at the region's commuter transit future.
When the Long Bridge is rebuilt, to add a lot more trains, and those trains can cross the river. So MARC trains could come into Virginia, and VRE trains could go into Maryland.
Their wish list includes new stops, new lines, and expanded service. But Mercer says the challenge ahead is clear.
We've got to go to Annapolis, got to go to Richmond, got to go to D.C. to get that funding.
And not far from their meeting, the people relying on it, like Trayvon.
How else can we get around state to state?
I actually didn't realize the AirPods there. I don't know what I was thinking. Why did I think those were like ear plugs? That wouldn't even make any sense. But yeah, yellow AirPods, highlighter yellow.
You know what I'm saying? People always commute when they have certain jobs and stuff like that. So if we didn't have Amtrak, a lot of people would be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just stuck.
All right, so next week, DMV Moves will present its plan, right? What gets prioritized, what it looks like overall, and probably the most important, where's the money come from? How do we get all three legislatures on board with a regional transit plan?
That's interesting. So we covered two stories just now, and one story was basically local transit and talking about having a crosstown BRT busway, and then this one is more about like the regional transit and turning MARC and VRE into more of like a regional system. Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool. I think I wish both of them had a little bit more investment in them, both MARC and VRE. I know VRE is getting new rail cars, right? They're getting new rail, yeah. So they're getting new rail cars, so that's nice. But I just wish there was a little bit more, I guess, investment into expanding service, and I know the Long Bridge is a real issue for VRE, and there's a lot of has been for like the past decade, talking about federal funding and the constraints around that. But yeah. So we'll see what happens. I feel like, I guess I kind of wanted a little bit more of an ambitious plan, seeing that there is the purple line, which I see some people talk about in the comment section, like having the purple line and stuff like that is a thing. I just wish there was a little bit more just something more happening. All right.
Tonight, U.S. transportation.
All right. Moving a little bit further up. We're going to Philly. We're going to talk about Philly. And, if you guys know what's going on in Philly, SEPTA's trains are just, the Silver Line 4s are just, they're on fire. Literally. Literally on fire. So there was a safety, they were forced to do safety inspections by the federal government. We know that they're struggling with funding right now still, just because they can dig into their capital funding, which is meant to replace these train sets. Doesn't mean that they have enough funding to completely do all these tests. So the issue right now is, if for people who don't know what's going on with SEPTA, SEPTA basically doesn't have any money. They're broke. And they went to the state, asked for money. The state was like, well, we can't really give you more money. Even though they're a state agency, they're like, well, we can't really give you more money. But what we can do is, this is broadly summing it up, a lot more happened, but what we can do is give you your own capital funding. So this is money saved to do infrastructure upgrades and replace their aging rolling stock. We can let you dig into that money in order to maintain your operations. And so that's enough money to basically maintain their operations for 2 years, which is not a lot. And so now, just after that, SEPTA's trains have been catching on fire, which is an issue, right? SEPTA's trains, the Silver Line 4s, get pulled out. They get pulled out, and now SEPTA has to operate really short trains, 2-car trains. And now all the trains, either they don't show up, or when they do show up, they're packed so that people can't get in. And so now that's been a whole issue there. So now, the thing was going on with SEPTA is that they've been forced to check all the trains. And while they're checking the trains, as per the federal government, what they're saying they should do, they're checking all the trains, and they can only check a couple of trains per day, right? A couple of train cars per day, and that's not enough to meet the federal deadline that is set for them. And so this is the issue. SEPTA doesn't have enough money to check all the trains fast enough, right? But the federal government wants them to check all the trains fast enough to make sure that they're safe. So this leaves a problem. Do you just completely blow over the checks and fake check them, kind of just rush through them, do a Boeing 737 Max check certification, or do you actually just say, you know what, federal government, leave us alone. We're gonna go at our own pace, or the pace that we can actually afford. So that's the interesting situation that SEPTA's in. So we'll figure. Let's take a look at this real quick.
Secretary Sean Duffy is calling on Pennsylvania's governor to secure stable funding for SEPTA. Duffy calling SEPTA issues a chronic spiral of service cuts and deferred repairs. In a letter sent to Governor Josh Shapiro today, Secretary Duffy accuses SEPTA of mismanagement and neglect. Duffy spiral of service cuts and deferred repairs. In a letter sent to Governor Josh Shapiro today, Secretary Duffy accuses SEPTA of mismanagement and neglect. Duffy ordered SEPTA on October 1st to address potential safety risks with its Silver Liner 4 rail cars after a series of fires. SEPTA is now up against a tight deadline to finish inspecting those rail cars. And Steve, you spoke with SEPTA's general manager today, and that's not the only problem SEPTA is dealing with right now.
Yeah, and not the only deadline. It's actually facing two big deadlines coming up. The first in just 7 days, and then a one following quickly after that in just 15 days.
A lot of shit has been down month over month the last 2 months.
And maybe getting worse soon.
People are finding alternatives.
SEPTA says it can see it's been losing regional rail riders because of its federally ordered inspections that have taken over a third of SEPTA's 225 50-year-old Silverliner 4 cars off for mandatory checks after a series of them caught fire, with the rest, 143 or 63% of them, still waiting to be inspected and facing a fast-coming October 31st deadline in just 8 days to do that all. SEPTA has asked and is hoping federal authorities will extend the deadline to the end of November.
We have an old fleet, the oldest in the country.
Which makes the multi-million-dollar mistake of going with a Chinese company to buy new double-decker cars an even worse mistake now.
Okay. So okay. All right. Listen. This is the real issue right here is the fact that Pennsylvania isn't giving SEPTA enough money, right? So Pennsylvania isn't giving enough money to SEPTA, but is expecting SEPTA to just operate as normal. Of course, with inflation and all that type of stuff that's going on right now, it's just not possible, right? Okay, 10 years ago, SEPTA buys these train sets with the funding that they got from the federal government and the funding that they got from the state. Not these train sets, but these train cars, these rail cars, right? They bought them from CRRC, right? The Chinese rail manufacturer, the same rail manufacturer that is building or built trains for the MBTA, for the Red Line and for the Orange Line, right? This is the same manufacturer, right? CRRC basically promises extremely cheap train sets, extremely cheap rail cars, and of course, these transit agencies that are extremely underfunded go towards the extremely cheap train cars. Now, there's all allegations about these train cars being built with slave labor and all that type of stuff. So that's a thing, right? And the fact that the build quality is just not good. So there's a lot of stuff going on there, right? And so by the time that CRRC sent over the body shells of the train cars, which were shipped over to the U.S., by the time they sent them over, SEPTA was like, we don't want these anymore. They were like, we're done with these. And because one, they were completely behind schedule. CRRC was completely behind schedule on delivering them. And so SEPTA was like, there's literally no point of having these. And the fact that it's possibly built, to horrible standards, and the fact that, the building practice in China and might not be the best when it comes to how they treat their employees over there. So SEPTA canceled them, and now that the fact that they canceled them, there's a couple of body shells of these train sets sitting around, and SEPTA can't expand their fleet or replace their existing fleet. So that's the main issue there.
That's 45 more cars that I would have been able to have at my disposal.
SEPTA lost $50 million spent.
Yeah. So here is the actual train set. It was already built. It was already built and shipped over to the U.S. Or the rail car. It was already built and shipped over to the U.S.
Waiting for the rail cars that were never made and never delivered from China, before SEPTA finally gave up on it last year and canceled the full $185 million deal.
Well, okay, that's not true, Mr. Newsman. They were built, they were shipped, or a couple of them were shipped over, but they were completely behind schedule. So, again, this is like that. All right. Of course, there's this weird anti-Chinese, this is obviously, we're also watching Fox News, so that kind of adds to it. But, realistically, were they behind schedule? Yes. Were they potentially using slave labor? Maybe. Who knows? Allegedly, right? Who knows, right? No, they actually were delivered. A couple of them were delivered. They were just delivered extremely late. And by the time that they were delivered, SEPTA was like, we don't want these anymore. So, yeah, that's the actual story.
They were supplement to the fleet. They were not replacement cars. So that was intended. Remember, that decision was made almost 10 years ago. And that was at a time when we were at record high ridership on regional rail. We were looking for expansion. And so it didn't work out for us. In hindsight, you look at that and you say, well, it didn't work out. Must have been a bad decision.
So now Fox 29 News has learned that SEPTA is looking to lease or buy used double-decker rail cars from New Jersey Transit.
I'm not sure how that would work. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure about if that's the right move. Chat, what do we think? Is that the right move? Because I'm pretty sure. I think New Jersey Transit needs these. At least they need the multi-level 2s. I know they're gonna have the multi-level 3s come in, but the multi-level 3s are gonna replace the old Aero train sets. So the Aero 3 cars or whatever. So they're gonna replace those. So I don't think it might not be the right move. And I don't think that New Jersey Transit is just gonna give these up. But I do know the Aero 3 cars that those will be kind of either they'll be sent to the scrap yard or whatever. But I think that SEPTA could use those. If SEPTA was really needed equipment, they could literally just purchase those, even though it's like you're purchasing more 50-year-old equipment, so that's not good. But at the same time, it's like if you're really struggling that much, then I think New Jersey Transit wouldn't mind giving those over. So like, I don't know. SEPTA should be refunded. Yeah, I think. I don't know the exact specifications of what happened when they canceled the order. I think they did get some of the money back though, just because it was so late. Yeah, I think New Jersey Transit could just donate it to them.
Looking to lease or buy used double-decker rail cars from New Jersey Transit, made in North America.
What I will say is we're looking at all options, and the New Jersey Transit cars, which are multi-level cars, that may actually help us because they'll be discarding their older cars, and that may.
But they're not discarding the multi-level 3. They're not discarding any of the multi-level cars. They're discarding they're discarding the Aero 3 cars, the Aero 3 train sets. So they're not going to be discarding any of the multi-level cars. That's like the Aero 3 train sets is basically it's a EMU or electrical multiple unit that is going to their entire fleet is going to be basically made of multi-levels and several whatchamacallits, what's it called? Damn, what's the other brain fart right now? The other single level cars that they operate? Forgot. But it's gonna be, what is it called? It's maybe on Bombardier. I forgot what the other ones were called. But yeah, it's gonna be made. It's like they're not having the Aero 3 cars anymore. So like those would be the ones that SEPTA would buy and purchase. But yeah, the Comets. Yeah, the Comets. Yeah, so the Comets are those are gonna stay, and the multi-levels are gonna stay. The Aero 3 cars are not staying. So you would get those old rail cars.
So you might eventually get them. It's very possible.
And SEPTA has another big deadline looming in just 15 days when the contract expires with the Transit Workers Union, representing over 5,000 bus, trolley, and train operators, mechanics, and maintenance staff. Fox 29 News sources say a strike authorization vote is expected next weekend.
I've been here long.
Yeah, so that's this weekend, by the way. This is not good. This has to be like the worst year ever for SEPTA. Like there's just so much bad stuff going on. Like it's in such a short period of time. It's just like everything is just falling apart. Yeah, this is not good.
Long time. I've been through a lot of contracts on both sides. It rarely gets resolved before the deadline. I'm hopeful and optimistic that we have a new president, a new general manager. Maybe we can change that trend.
So this letter to the governor from the transportation secretary was made public about an hour after I talked to Scott Sauer. I had no idea that they would mention that double-decker rail car on that story that we broke last year, as I was just following that up today. And in the letter, Secretary Duffy says SEPTA must repay the federal government more than $55 million from the failed rail car procurement from a Chinese manufacturer. The government, he says, will not pay for rail car repay.
All right. Our manager expresses significant concerns of U.S. Department of Transportation with the current safety and financial state of the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, SEPTA. SEPTA is an essential component of the transportation system, network in Pennsylvania, and systems thousands daily riders deserve a safe, efficient, and reliable public transportation system. The city of Philadelphia will host the World Cup. I actually didn't know that. Oh, wow. They'll host the World Cup in 2026. SEPTA rail and bus system must be ready to serve those thousands of additional guests safely. Just this year, SEPTA commuter rail vehicles have caught fire, or in other words, experienced an emergency from thermal event 5 times. Thankfully, no fatalities resulted, but the department will not stand by waiting for this tragedy to strike. If changes are not made immediately, it's only a matter of time before SEPTA's crumbling commuter rail system erupts in flames and kills someone. Okay. I mean, it's true. That's true. But the wording was crazy, though. I'm not gonna lie. Okay. Under direction, the Railroad Administration took divisive action on October 1st, 2025, issuing emergency order number 34, FRA order that identifies 14 conditions that SEPTA must meet in order to mitigate serious safety risks with the Silver Liner 4 commuter rail fleet. The FRA has also increased the number of rail safety inspectors at SEPTA's facility and on SEPTA equipment to ensure the safety. Okay. Where? It's like a lot of like stuff we already know. Okay, so SEPTA's bus fleet has also been neglected and poorly maintained. On August 6, 2005, the Federal Transit Administration issued a letter to SEPTA's general manager outlining serious concerns about SEPTA's storage of protocols. That's when those buses burnt down, and all those SEPTA buses, those electric, like the battery buses, all burnt down. So that was that's when that happened. That wasn't good. There's so much happening with SEPTA, and all of it is bad. Like I haven't had like good SEPTA news in a minute. Yeah. These vehicles have caught fire, causing significant property damage. Thankfully, there has been no loss of life. We understand that SEPTA is currently facing and that you have approved this long-term accounting. Robbing Peter to pay Paul accounting gimmicks like this are not sustainable. And like, that's kind of the fact that Sean Duffy is calling out the state of Pennsylvania for this out of all people, right? Under all administrations, right? That shows you how bad the state of Pennsylvania is really doing. That just shows you how bad it is. The robbing Peter to pay Paul accounting gimmicks like this are not suitable and increase the likelihood of further safety failures as SEPTA defers critically needed capital investments. You have Sean Duffy saying that. That's crazy. That is crazy to me. Like, oh man, this state is, oh man. Pennsylvania is expected to accountability. Yeah, Pennsylvanians expect physical accountability for SEPTA system. As secretary, I will not be complicit in the Commonwealth's mismanagement of resources for public transportation. That's why on October 8th, 2025, FTA reiterated that SEPTA must repay the federal government more than $55 million from a failed rail car procurement with the Chinese manufacturer. The department will not pay for rail cars that SEPTA has never received and customers cannot use. SEPTA's mismanagement and poor oversight of that procurement surely exaggerate the dire safety and physical. Yeah, and that's basically because, again, the state didn't give them money to actually buy good rail cars. So they bought cheap rail cars from China, and then this all happened. So this is literally just the state. The state caused the issue where SEPTA is just making bad decisions over and over again because they just don't have money to make good ones. And so now, now the federal government is like, okay, well, what, like, we're giving you money, we're giving the state money to operate their rail system, and the state isn't really pulling up their end. Her administration has failed to secure stable state funding, forcing SEPTA into a chronic spiral of service cuts and deferred repairs. This again is Sean Duffy saying this. So remember, this is Sean Duffy saying this. Like, this is like Mr. I'll pull funding from the Gateway program, Sean Duffy. This is after saying that I wouldn't, just because Donald Trump said he would pull it out of, just whatever. This is that person saying blatantly obvious stuff that, that apparently the state still doesn't understand, that Pennsylvania still doesn't understand. Your short-term divisions of Federal Highway Administration funds. Wow. Your short-term divergence of Federal Highway Administration funds to SEPTA while ignoring the broader budget and passes how 3 months late. Merely case on strikes. Because your national and another oversight Pennsylvania transit systems must mitigate safety and reliability. Under President Trump, we are putting American safety first. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right.
From a Chinese manufacturer, the government, he says, will not pay for rail cars SEPTA never received and cannot use. And really tough talk when it comes to those regional rail cars. If changes are not made immediately, it's only a matter of time before SEPTA's crumbling commuter rail system erupts in flames and kills someone, Secretary Duffy wrote to Shapiro. So there is some tough talk from the secretary. And on a maybe happier note, when it comes to the contract that's looming November 7th, Sheba, Jason, the new general manager knows something about that because he was a trolley rider. And SEPTA went on strike twice when he was a member of the union. He's walked picket line, so he knows the other side, and maybe that'll help get that contract settled and maybe alleviate one of...
No, he's not asking SEPTA for money. He's taking SEPTA's money while telling the state, like the state of Pennsylvania, to invest into SEPTA, into their public transportation, which I think is fair that in this case, right, because he's taking money that the federal government under a different administration gave to SEPTA to purchase rail cars, right? SEPTA then canceled the order, but still has the money from the federal government. Now, this money from the federal government could be used for other transit systems if the federal government were to take the money and spend it on a different transit system. So it does make sense that they're taking the money back because that money was allocated towards other transit systems, and SEPTA won the allocation, but they're not doing anything with the money. So that's you can't do that. And so like that makes sense. All that makes sense. And the fact that he's calling out the state realistically it is the Republicans in the state of Pennsylvania who are holding it back, which is kind of weird. It's like Republicans calling out Republicans, but not explicitly saying it. But it's kind of it's a parade. It's a clown show that we're watching. All right. The next story. Oh yeah. Here he goes right here.
Well, first and foremost, Tracy, we're still at the airport right now. We're at this train station for SEPTA as folks just left moments ago heading back to Center City. Like you said, the U.S. Transportation Secretary was in town today here at the airport. He was talking about the government shutdown, air traffic controllers, but he was also talking about SEPTA. 7 days away from this major and urgent deadline, and there's a possibility SEPTA won't make it.
What the hell is a thermal event? It's called a fire. So let's not try to massage what's happening.
U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy in Philadelphia this afternoon, one day after sending a scathing letter about SEPTA to Governor Josh Shapiro. In the letter, Duffy writes about what he calls his serious concerns about the safety and fiscal state of the transit agency. He went on to say if changes aren't made immediately, it's only a matter of time before the rail system erupts in flames and kills somebody. The clock is ticking down for SEPTA on a looming Halloween deadline. It has
I don't know why. This audio is low. I don't know why the audio is so low. I'm not gonna hold you.
days to finish emergency inspections set by the Federal Railroad Administration. What happens if they don't meet this deadline for these emergency inspections?
So I'm not going to front run what happens next. But again, I don't want to talk about consequences. I want to talk about action. I want trains to be safe and to run on time. That's what I want.
SEPTA must check all of its Silverliner 4 rail cars by...
Let me see. Let me make sure. Let me pull this all the way up on. I'm gonna have to boost it because here this might be too loud though. All right. I don't know why the news has this so low on.
Emergency inspections set by the Federal Railroad Administration. What happens if they don't meet this deadline for these emergency inspections?
So I'm not going to front run what happens next. But again, I don't want to talk about consequences. I want to talk about action. I want trains to be safe and to run on time. That's what I want.
SEPTA must check all of its Silverliner 4 rail cars by next Friday because of fire concerns. The agency says at its current speed, workers are inspecting 8 cars a day. They would need to change that to about 17 a day to be done by the 31st.
Nobody wants us to do this fast. They want us to do it right. And that's what our commitment is. So we're not going to take any chances on missing something. So if that means we have to do 8 instead of 12 or 20, then that's what has to happen.
Governor Shapiro fired back at Secretary Duffy, saying he wanted $167 million in funding for SEPTA, adding, instead of issuing a press release, Secretary Duffy should call his fellow Republicans and get them to fund the governor's mass transit funding package for SEPTA. We would be happy to provide their phone numbers. Riders are continuing to face delays and cancellations because of ongoing emergency inspections.
Getting to work late, overcrowding, trains cancel in the morning time, trains bypassing the station.
Well, you heard some of his concerns and what he's been dealing with. I can tell you thousands of others have been dealing with this for weeks and weeks and weeks. So what's the next step? SEPTA says that, it's trying to get through this as fast as possible. We, of course, asked them, why not bring a whole bunch of workers in to speed up the process? They say outside consultants are here right now. They have their expert staff working on this as well. But if they brought in more workers with no experience and tried to train them, it would simply slow down the process.
And it would cost more money that they don't have. So, that's kind of that's the main issue. So now everybody understands what's going on with SEPTA and like all the weird stuff. It's a weird dance that SEPTA is doing, that the state of Pennsylvania is doing, and that the federal government is doing. They're just doing this weird shuffle. And it's the only person losing in this is SEPTA. So, all right. Moving on to better news, surprisingly in Florida. So we're going to go to Miami-Dade launching the first bus rapid transit system, or real bus rapid transit system. Honestly, it looks really good. I took a look at it, not in real life. I looked at it on Google Maps. But we're gonna take a look at this story.
Now at 6, there's a new express bus route coming to South Miami-Dade. It'll run along US 1 connecting Dadeland South and Florida City. County leaders say it's part of a push to expand public transportation.
CBS News' Miami's Bree Buckley joins us now from one of the new stops.
These stops are a welcome relief for commuters used to sitting in the hot sun. Take a look. They have the shelter with air conditioning, charging ports, and free Wi-Fi. Now, this is one of 14 along the busy US 1 corridor. The Boss take the bus multiple times a month to get to doctor's appointments, typically bracing for the unforgiving South Florida heat.
Today it's a breeze. This is not the norm. In the summertime, it's excruciatingly hot.
They're looking forward to the 14 new transit stations with air conditioning and shelter from the sun, hopeful it will help their commute.
I'm sure it will. They put too much money in that too. I trust them.
It's part of Miami-Dade County's new Metro Express, the first bus rapid transit system in the county. It runs 20 miles from Florida City to Dadeland South Metro Rail Station in a designated lane with train crossing style gate arms that go down and priority during rush.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about this, right? Because look, all right, so you have stoplights right here, right? Or like you have the normal stoplights for traffic, right? And then you have the bus lights, stoplights, right? The bus signals. Okay. And then you have crossing arms as if the buses are trains. But I don't think that's I don't know if that's I don't know if that's how they work. I'm pretty sure that's not I've never really seen this used for buses, particularly because buses can stop a lot quicker than trains. So that's why trains have these. And so if you're gonna put bus signals, right? Bus traffic signals, and you're also gonna put the crossing arms. What was the whole purpose of this? I don't get it.
Rush hour.
Give the crossing arms to Brightline.
County officials say it's the longest electric bus rapid transit service in the U.S.
Because it's going to transform the way people get around. It's to their jobs, to their schools, to their medical appointments, and it's going to activate even more the South Dade corridor.
County leaders say the 60-foot all-electric buses are energy efficient and will help thousands of commuters save roughly 40 minutes each way compared to driving. The over $300 million project comes from federal grant money, state funds from FDOT, and local tax dollars as the first rapid transit expansion since 2012. Officials call it a train-like system.
A lot of people don't give us rail. We get rail. We can't afford it, and the government was never going to give the federal government to give you the money. There is not the ridership.
He's looking like, what is he saying? I can't listen, chat. I can't hear what they're saying either. I don't know. These news clips are so low. You need to put like a volume booster. I can hear all the ambient sounds of the station or the stop itself. I can't hear anything he's saying right now. I'm not gonna lie. And I have headphones on.
What this does allows you to build ridership. These stations are actually made to be expanded.
The Boss say they can't wait to see it up and running.
It's really convenient, saves money, saves time.
The new route launches on Monday, October 27th, and county officials tell me the fare will remain the same, which starts at $2.25. Okay, so this opens up tomorrow. If anybody in that area, you want to go check it out, yeah, it opens tomorrow. It's only $2 to ride, like the normal buses. What he was saying, was that, okay, so they couldn't afford having actual light rail or extending the Metro Rail. So if you know the Metro Rail, there was talks about extending it all the way down, all the way south, but instead they put this bus route, but BRT line along the same corridor or along the same right-of-way that they would have used. Because it was cheaper. And he's right, the fact that there isn't enough ridership right now, even though there's TOD being built around these bus stations, there isn't enough ridership to warrant
having an entire heavy rail metro, or even a light rail for that matter. Like it really, the BRT was actually, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I rarely ever agree with BRT routes, but this is actually BRT done properly. I'm not sure about the crossing gates, but yeah, you know, I'm not too sure about the crossing gates.
Way compared to drive.
This is an interesting choice, but you know, I guess extra safety. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, here's a better look at what the actual stations look like, because that news report didn't really show the actual stations.
Miami is one of the fastest growing cities in the nation, and we want to be able to provide public transportation to the highest level that we can for this growing market. This project in particular is one step that's going to get us closer to that. The project is called the South Dade Transitway Project. It's a BRT, Bus Rapid Transit project, that extends from the Dadeland South Metro Rail Station all the way to Florida City. The growth Dadeland South.
Like, this is a really long system, by the way. Like the fact that like actual Miami is like off screen right now, right? Like downtown Miami is like all the way off screen. This is a really long corridor, and it is. I'm not going to say it's sparsely populated, but it is, compared to actually using heavy rail metro like the Metro line. Like there's no way that they would have extended the heavy rail metro and would have had the ridership to actually justify it. I went to full screen.
Metro Rail Station all the way to Florida City. The growth in this area has been exponential. To start on the south was of utmost importance because that's the area that we want to serve. We want to be able to move the general public from that unserviced area into the main backbone of the system. One of the things that distinguish this bus rapid transit is our innovation in regards to the integration of buses into the roadway aspect of the project. So similar to rail, we have 46 intersections where we have rail gates that come down to allow the bus to safely cross around the intersection, which
I don't get this. Why? But why though? Like listen, so you're telling me the bus has to come to a complete stop with the rest of the traffic, right? And then they'll say, come to a complete stop. And then the arms come down, and then the bus starts moving. That sounds like it just, I don't know if that was the right investment. I feel like it would have, yeah, Florida drivers, maybe that's why. I think it would have been way better if the crossing arms were used because, hey, like maybe, like why is the bus having to stop at normal stop lights? I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit confused on that.
makes that transit from station to station seamless. And that's super important because time is of an essence. And we want to make sure we get you there on time and safe.
Oh man, just move. Let's go. Yeah, just go on to the next one.
Miles to work and school and back home. CITT Trust members and staff recently toured a new transit project opening soon that is about to change that. The South Dade Transitway is a 20-mile bus rapid transit or BRT system that will connect southern Miami-Dade communities to
I'm not gonna lie, the stations do seem kind of nice though. But like, and this is what I mean by like, look around, look at what's around the stations. There isn't like, this is like a sea of parking lots and, you know, a couple like restaurants and stuff like that. Some light industrial stuff over there. It's just like this is kind of what the majority of this transitway is surrounded by. There is like, I'm not saying that there isn't like single family homes around, but it just wouldn't have justified like a large heavy rail metro or even light rail.
Metro Rail at the Dadeland South Metro Rail Station.
Proud to be joining my fellow colleagues on this wonderful tour. It's amazing to see the progress, just within the span of 1 year, from the groundbreaking to just riding the bus and seeing all of the enhancements. And as a transit rider myself, and knowing that we are the first in the country to have this type of service, it burns me great pride. Today I'm also joined by students from Miami-Dade College who's also experienced in this. So the future of transit lies in their hands, and not only am I experiencing it, but our students here in our community are doing the same.
Metro Express, the BRT service running along the South Dade Transitway, is designed to operate like light rail while keeping the flexibility of modern buses. To maximize efficiency, buses will use signal priority at intersections, and fares will be collected at the stations, speeding up the boarding process.
The South Dade Transitway is going to connect from Florida City to Dadeland South Metro and seamlessly into the Metro Rail system. So you'll be able to go from Florida City all the way through, and when you get off on Dadeland South, it's seamless. You don't even have to tap in again.
Yeah, this is this is what I'll give them. This is an actual BRT system. Like, they did it properly. They did it the right way first, which is nice.
Just get to continue on in the system wherever else you need to go, which is really exciting.
14 brand new BRT stations will feature center platforms, safe crossings, air-conditioned shelters, lighting, real-time arrival information, and more.
This is going to be the most wonderful thing for the residents of South Dade. And I hope that everybody will take advantage of this great transportation.
A new fleet of articulated, all-electric buses will deliver quiet, zero-emission service, supported by the South Dade Transit Operations Center. Safety is a top priority. Every station will include CCTV cameras, enhanced lighting, and on-site security personnel, ensuring a safe and comfortable transit experience.
We're putting our half-penny surtax to work for you by bringing an operations center and bringing our first corridor of our SMART plan into fruition, and it will be operating by the end of this year. And we are very excited about the ribbon cutting that will be taking place, and that service will start up, and we will have preemption coming all the way down the transitway.
The South Dade Transitway is one of 6 rapid transit corridors in Miami-Dade's SMART program, expanding sustainable mobility across the county. It will provide faster, more reliable.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, so the other, so this is one of the SMART program corridors, and then the other one is the proposed Tri-Rail, like, Brightline service that's supposed to run along the Florida East Coast Railway corridor. So that's the other one.
Is one of 6 rapid transit corridors in Miami-Dade's SMART program, expanding sustainable mobility across the county. It will provide faster, more reliable service, improving comfort and safety for residents today and for generations to come. Your halfpenny is hard at work, transforming the way South Dade moves and improving mobility in your community. To learn more about this exciting new service, visit miamidade.gov/met.
All right. On to the Kansas City streetcar. Let's go to KC.
From concept
to construction, and now becoming reality.
It's been a long road, literally and figuratively.
The KC Streetcar's Main Street extension is gearing up to welcome its first passengers.
Everybody's excited. It's like Christmas.
For months, KSHB 41 has taken you guys behind the scenes.
You know, you got your bells, you got your whistles, and you got your turn signals, and just everything.
So the real-time data feed for us, giving you a front row seat.
Nice to see some accessibility to get around town.
To the future of transportation here in Kansas City.
It's hard to believe it's here. It's gonna be something new, but I think new is good for the city.
So come aboard as we cross the finish line.
And this is going down in the history books.
On track with Casey.
Come be a part of history.
Thanks for joining us as we mark a major milestone in Kansas City history. I'm Olivia Acree.
And I'm Danielle Leone. For months, our KSHB 41 team has been working around the clock to answer your questions and ensure that your voice is heard.
I'm Charlie Keegan. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to explain everything you need to know about the KC Streetcar's Main Street extension. We'll start with just getting you caught up to speed on the basics.
It'll expand the streetcar from Union Station
all the way down south.
What is the Main Street extension? Construction broke ground in 2022. The extension adds 8 new stops, spread out over 3.5 miles. You can see on this map, the new line just extends the current route, taking it south of Union Station, ending at 51st and Brookside Boulevard. You don't have to get off one route and transfer to a new streetcar. How much does it cost? The price tag on construction was $350 million. You don't pay a fare to ride the streetcar, but you pay a special sales tax when you buy from retailers along the route. And nearby property owners pay a special assessment to cover.
That's all. See, look.
You don't pay a fare to ride the streetcar, but you pay a special sales tax when you buy from retailers along the route. And
see, that's smart. That's smart. And see, that's how I like transit to be done. Listen, this like you can't fare evade if there's no fare, and everybody has to eat. Everybody has to eat. What you gonna do? Not pay the little bit of tax on your food? Come on now, come on.
Nearby property owners pay a special assessment to cover streetcar operations.
It's enough to pay for fast, frequent, and free operations.
Why is there red paint on the streets along this extension? Red highlights transit-only lanes. This keeps the streetcar moving on time.
Solid red bars means no cars.
The KC Streetcar explained the concept in this video. On the extension, motorists are supposed to stay out of the streetcar lanes, except when making certain right-hand turns and parking.
Our goal is to see long-term.
I'm not really sure if I like the fact that they're not going down the median of the road. This is a pretty wide road, except for when they're actually in downtown. But the rest of the extension, they're basically putting the streetcar on a strode, right? And there's so much space for them to put the streetcar in the median and have island platforms and stuff like that. But instead, they didn't do that. And so like now we have to worry about like parked cars and all that type of stuff along the right of way, which is, you know, even deliveries and stuff like that, hopefully that don't block the right of way. But, you know, chances that they will block the right of way it's there.
Slower speeds to find a more attractive space for those who are looking to go through on foot, bicycle, any other form.
Now that we've covered the basics, let's dive a little deeper into some of the questions we've heard most often from you, like who pays for the streetcar and where do I park? Hint, hint, UMKC might be the answer to that question. Here's what we found out.
Everything looks really good.
Hidden in refrigerator cases and shelves of retailers is the answer to our question. Who pays for the streetcar?
I have wondered that.
I do wonder. I don't really know how that works.
You don't have to pay a fare or buy a ticket to ride the streetcar, but you do pay for it in a roundabout way.
It is free, which I love, but yeah, I'm not sure how Kansas City does that.
Here's how it works. Shoppers and property owners pay for it, and they may not even know it. In 2012, the city created a Transportation Development District, or TDD. The people in the borders of this map voted to impose a special assessment on properties and an extra sales tax on retailers within that dotted line, basically within a third of a mile of the tracks.
It's enough to pay for fast, frequent, and free operations.
And these streetcars come like really frequently. We're talking about like every like 5 to 10 minutes. It's crazy.
Johnson is one of 7 board members overseeing the district's money. He says this approach will allow the streetcar to keep the Main Street extension free to ride as well.
And so successful that we've been able to put the excess money back into the system.
The extension is on budget. A federal grant is paying for about half of the $350 million project.
We are proud to be your federal partners.
Through the TDD, property owners and shoppers like Mandy Ruport will pay the rest over the next several years.
Those stores are benefiting by people getting on and off of the streetcar. Even when I lived in River Market, I was benefiting by getting to use the free service all the time to bring me to all those stores and restaurants and bars.
The next time you buy octopus or an empanada, you're paying to keep the streetcar on the tracks.
It almost sounds counterintuitive, right? Drive somewhere to then ride the streetcar? Maybe some of you are thinking you can park way down south, then ride the streetcar to events downtown. So where do you park? The new last stop, this UMKC stop, is your best bet because of this parking garage. UMKC set aside about 160 parking spaces just for streetcar riders. A lot of them are in this garage. Garage. The university is charging $1.25 per hour. Right next to the plaza stop, there's this parking lot. It's got about 40 spots. Let me park this email I got from the city. It says there will eventually be pricing for this.
All right, he's cooking with this. He said, "Let me park this email," and then actually parked it. I support the effort.
Lot, but rates haven't been determined yet. Wait, what about parking on the plaza? I'm a really fast walker.
Park and ride streetcar. Yeah, park and ride streetcar. Yep.
It took me 3 minutes, 47 seconds to get to this parking garage, which is just across from Jack Stack and probably the closest to the plaza streetcar stop. You might think, I'll be real slick. I'll find an on-street parking spot in the residential neighborhood just off the streetcar line.
Neighbors are concerned about what that's going to look like.
That was Nadja Carpolo from the Old Hyde Park Historic District. She told me she's kind of in wait-and-see mode to find out how the streetcar line affects parking on her block. Kansas City says there are 40,000 parking spots in downtown, if you can scout them all out. Don't forget this hack. The lots near 7th and Main are free on the weekend, which is right next to the original streetcar line's North Loop stop. Those are your parking hacks, my friends. I'm Charlie Keegan, KSHB 41 News.
Whether you ride the streetcar or not, you will notice the changes, and drivers need to be aware of these transit-only lanes exclusive to the Main Street extension and how to navigate around them. So here's a look at how it all works.
Main Street south of Union Station is rocking a new look. You see red, think transit-only lanes, which means unless you're a bus or a streetcar, you cannot drive here.
I think it's going to take people, especially who aren't in this area, haven't seen all the construction and haven't followed all the information. It's going to be interesting.
It's just confusing now because it's new and it's something that we haven't had in the city.
Transit-only lanes make up 60% of the extension, marked by a combination of curbs, medians, solid red bars, and white and red lane lines. Signs are also posted along transit-only zones.
When we have a streetcar full of 150 people, we do want to put some prioritization of moving people over vehicles.
You can still turn on intersections along Main Street, on-street parking, or turn on a business driveway. Just look for the red piano keys with dashed lane lines where lanes change to transition zones.
I think it will take drivers and people a little bit time to get used to it, but I think once they actually get it down tack, I think they'll get normalized to it, but for right now, I think it's going to be a little hectic.
Over the past couple of weeks, we've caught drivers failing to stop at limit lines, hitting cement curbs along transit-only zones, and nearly hitting people walking nearby.
You're paying attention, you're going to be okay.
Daniela Leon, KSHB 41 News.
Businesses along the streetcar route are hoping the new extension brings new customers. I'll show you how they're taking out a new brunch spot or check out a new store, but didn't want to deal with the traffic or parking. Well, businesses on the new Main Street line are hoping that easier transportation brings customers in, and some of them have some pretty unique ways they're trying to do that.
It's been a long road for everyone involved with the making of the streetcar's Main Street.
Hurry up.
Restaurant is just off the Southmoreland stop. They're cashing in on opening day with a Ragazza ride.
We're going to open at 11 for a special event.
Ragazza's sister restaurant, Enzo, is in the River Market, so they're no stranger to the streetcar.
I think it's really special for us to get to be involved with.
All down the line, businesses are cashing in with streetcar specials. At Main Street Tavern, they'll welcome riders with free coffee and donuts.
Just having something fun for everybody that wants to come out and celebrate.
Streetcar director Tom Garand has big plans for the entire weekend.
We're past the hard part. We're now to the payoff.
At 10 a.m. Friday, a public ceremony with the first riders hopping on board right after, plus a community celebration later that night, and another on Saturday.
This is going down in the history books. And come be a part of history.
Scan the QR code on your screen to see the full list of events and specials to roll out the Main Street extension.
Go ahead, scan it. Oh, whoops. Go ahead, scan it. All right.
Ever Operations Control Center. A supervisor now monitors these feeds anytime a streetcar is running.
This gives us just a way
more efficient response.
In the middle of our interview, we noticed something.
Well, show us what's happening right here.
Yeah.
Right now.
So right now we have some temporary traffic control.
Cars backed up at 31st and Main, blocking the streetcar temporarily.
If needed, he could direct how we're gonna, we call it a reblock, and he would manage all of that from here.
Most passengers won't even think about this, but this allows us to operate a more efficient and seamless system for them.
One of the first benefits passengers will notice from this operations control center is improved messaging on video boards like this one at each platform.
We have sat here a couple times and just been waiting for it for a while.
Jake and Jonah love the streetcar. They applaud any tool to help keep the system running on time.
It takes us to the grocery store, takes me to work, takes me home.
Here's a nice
Pretty much everything I need.
And everything Cruddy needs is now at her fingertips.
So that's a look at modern day streetcar operating. But coming up, I want to take you back in time to the late 1800s and the debut of the first electric streetcar right here in Kansas City.
And after that history lesson, how does the streetcar get its unique look? I'll walk you through the entire process and, of course, a look at the artwork.
What? Y'all not going to talk about the
historical moments along the way. In Kansas City, Charlie Keegan, KSHB 41 News.
Oh, that was it. Oh, my fault. Yeah, it was like he literally talked for 30 seconds. Man, all right. Next story.
Entire corridor and not just build rails.
The list includes sprucing up this parking lot.
Yeah, next story. I thought they were going to at least talk about the future of it. Maybe more extensions, but All right. Next story. Something simple.
Well, Philadelphia City Council just passed a bill that paves the way for the city to move forward now with its bike lane safety project.
Loading zones in some neighborhoods that were installed and then removed a few months later could be put in place again. Investigative reporter Liz Crawford is looking at the back and forth.
Right now, you'll find empty poles like this one up and down Spruce and Pine Streets. That's because the loading zone signs that used to be attached to them had to come down last month due to a judge's order. Andrew Posmontier, a member of Philly Bike Action, misses the loading zones. He says they gave people a place to park their car to unload items or drop off passengers without having to block the bike lanes.
It really seemed like having them in there got rid of 95% of that chaotic, dangerous behavior, and the street genuinely did feel safer in the time that those loading zones were in.
Neighborhood group Friends of Pine and Spruce are against the project and filed a lawsuit in June seeking to block the city from moving forward with the plan. 2 months later, a judge ruled the city could not install the loading zones without city council approval, and the city had to remove those zones that had already been installed.
All this back and forth, this takes time.
But again, I feel like safety is paramount over a couple's parking spots. You know what I'm saying? Which is, it's just, you don't want people on bikes getting hit by cars or pedestrians getting hit by people on bikes. And so the loading zones is one of the ways that you avoid that. So it's just kind of weird. It's just a weird energy.
Time, this takes manpower.
Yeah, New York City needs
and
them
this is
too.
how the hours are being spent.
It's terrible. The city doesn't know what it's doing. It doesn't know how to comply with the law.
Thursday, council members took action, passing a bill that would give the Streets Department the authority to establish loading zones in parts of Center City, including Spruce and Pine Streets.
When do you want to see these loading zones back in?
I mean, I would love to see them back in tomorrow. I don't know why we would wait. I hope that the court will let the city put the signs back up now that they have that procedural issue solved.
Meanwhile, Friends of Pine and Spruce say they're not done fighting.
We're not giving up. So at some point, the city's either going to sit down and try and work out a compromise, or we'll have to find out and see what the jury says.
The mayor has 10 days to sign the legislation, which would make it effective immediately.
Now, Liz did reach out to the Streets Department to see if and when they plan on reinstalling loading zones in parts of Center City. There's been no word back as of yet.
All right.
Well, you can add a...
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk about DART. All right. The DART Silverline extension just opened. Well, extension. DART Silverline altogether just opened. It's great. Looks great. The turnout looks amazing. So this is great. This is a really, really big moment for Dallas. So yeah, so let's take a look.
Another color to your Dart rail map. The Silver Line makes its debut this weekend, connecting Plano and several other cities to DFW Airport. NBC5's David Goen takes us inside North Texas' newest transit option.
While welcoming its first passengers Friday, the debut of DART's Silver Line represents more than just the 26-mile stretch of rail now open. It's decades of planning, too.
Lots of work, lots of visioning starting 30 years ago with the city of Addison and the other cities along the corridor. So to see it come to fruition is really a great thing.
The Silver Line covers stops in 7 cities, including 2, Addison and Capel, gaining rail service for the first time.
And we know how important it is that our riders have different types of options to get to the different places that they want to go to.
The first thing you might notice, this looks and feels different than other DART trains, with roomier seats and space for luggage above, and the ability to comfortably walk about and move from car to car. On Friday, we traveled a middle portion of the Silver Line east from Cypress Waters through Carrollton to a welcomed arrival in Addison.
We've been following the Silver Line opening for weeks now, especially because my son is obsessed with trains.
Yesenia Beltran says she won a chance to be a VIP on the Silver Line's first passenger trip, an experience her son Julian has been waiting for.
But I think I just like that train.
Damn, that guy's tall as this guy. I didn't really. I was guy's tall as hell. I was like, well, who is that? No, this is he was definitely cold in his prime in high school.
But I think I just like
a whole 7-footer just
like that train.
Does this make you want to ride trains more?
It might.
That's such a real response, though. It might make you want
to ride trains.
See, if the train is actually as useful as people are saying it is, it might. That's a proper answer right there.
More?
It might.
And that might be good for DART, which is working to increase ridership across the region and increase its connectivity with the TRE in Tarrant County and DCTA serving Denton County.
I was shocked at how smooth it is, and then I expected it to be a bit slower. Not that it goes really fast, but it's a very decent speed.
Like with any new product, DART wants customers and potentially new riders to sample the Silver Line with free rides starting Saturday and running through November 8th. In Addison, David Goins, NBC5.
The DART Silver Line is ready for its public debut this weekend. One of the inaugural rides happened this morning from
I think the frequency is 30 minutes, every 30 minutes. So it's last time I checked, and it's also the weekend, so I don't know. But I know it's every 30 minutes for now. It might be like 15 minutes or something like that on the weekdays.
the Cypress Water Station in Capel to Addison. Now, that is one section of a much longer Silver Line that runs all the way through Cullen and Dallas counties. Trevor Sahaki reports from Addison.
This new Silver Line right here is a big deal for really any DART rider or anyone who commutes along the new Silver Line or wants to go to DFW Airport. It opens to the public tomorrow and is free through November 8th. The train took off from the Cypress Water Station a little after 9 and broke through a banner here in Addison less than 30 minutes later to confetti and a band. The 26-mile track connects Dallas, Plano, Carrollton, and DFW Airport, among others. There are 7 cities and 10 total stations. Trains will come every 30 minutes during peak times and weekdays and every hour during off times and weekends. Service will run from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. DART says the Silver Line is quieter, more efficient, and sustainable than other trains.
This has been an ongoing project for many years, and we know how important it is that our riders have different types of options to get to the different places that they want to go to. Silver Line connects 7 different cities across the DFW area. With everyone moving into North Texas, it's very important that they have all kinds of options to get around.
Once again, the new Silver Line opens to the public starting tomorrow, and rides will be free through November 8th. In Addison, Trevor Sahaki, CBS News, Texas.
New at 4:30, a ride that's been years in the making. DART held a grand opening ceremony earlier today for the Silver Line that connects 7 cities and...
No, it won't connect with TRE because TRE That's going to be in downtown Dallas, and then that's also in Fort Worth. So it connects with the what is that joint called? What is the other one that just opened? It also goes to the airport. It connects with that one. They use literally the same train sets, and then that connects to TRE, which I think that one's also operated by TRE. It's like it's a whole system that I feel like low key kind of needs to be combined and marketed the same eventually as they're starting to connect. TexRail, right? So yeah, that's it doesn't connect with TRE though.
At DFW Airport, it comes as DART addresses passenger safety concerns. Our Don White tells us all about it.
It's the countdown for the much anticipated grand opening of DART's Silver Line, followed by an inaugural ride.
This has actually been something like 20 years in the making.
Richardson Mayor Amir Omar believes the Silver Line will add convenience.
This connects us in ways that very few cities anywhere in the country are connected, connecting both south and north via the Red Line, and now east and west.
It also makes getting to the UT Dallas campus easier.
UT Dallas is one of the most globally connected campuses in America. The Silver Line extends that connectivity.
DART board chair Gary Slagle says the Silver Line spans 26 miles. It connects Plano, Richardson, Dallas, Addison, Carrollton, Coppell, Grapevine, and DFW International Airport.
Many people travel, of course, and to be able to get there quickly and not have to deal with parking and all the other things that go with that is really an advantage.
Service will run from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. The new line features bike and luggage racks, ADA compliant boarding, and USB chargers.
This region is growing, and a lot of the growth is to the north. So this will help anchor that activity.
We asked Slagle about safety concerns.
Also, that was not a
New line features bike and luggage racks, ADA
that's not that's not the Silver Line. Sorry though.
Compliant boarding and USB chargers.
This region is growing.
ADA compliant boarding and USB.
And this is also the normal. Both of those were at the other DART services. That's not the DART Silver Line. Could they not have like just gone inside the trains and then got an actual shot of it?
Chargers.
This region is growing, and a lot of the growth is to the north. This will help anchor that activity.
We asked Slagle about safety concerns after two fatal shootings on other DART lines near the Market Center and Pearl stations, and a sexual assault last weekend close to the Spring Valley station.
We have increased our police presence on our system. We're well aware of it and engaged with the municipalities who have their police departments working with us, as well as the counties.
The Silver Line officially opens to riders this Saturday. In Richardson, Dawn White, CBS News, Texas.
All rides on the Silver Line are free from October 25th through
to the November 8th or whatever. The ride itself takes around like 50 minutes from end to end. So, you know, it's not like super fast. Who knows if it's going to get a little bit faster. So it's not super fast, but it does connect up a lot of different cities, and it does connect a literal college campus or university campus. So that's great. And then the airport. So, you know, this is going to be I think it's going to be a really successful line. And DART's ridership is going to go through the roof with this. All right, next story. Next story is the e-bikes. E-bikes in New York City. I think we were talking about loading zones in New York City in order to kind of increase bike safety. Well, now e-bikes also have a safety limit. Is this actually going to be, or a speed limit? Is this actually going to be enforced by the NYPD? Probably not. Is it kind of funny that e-bikes have a speed limit now? Yeah. but yeah, let's just take a look at this story real quick.
For e-bike riders, a city-enforced 15-mile-per-hour speed limit for e-bikes starts today. Doug Williams is on the Upper West Side with more.
Well, Cindy, City Bike says they actually limited and governed their own bikes back in June to 15-mile-per-hour caps. Well, now, if you're a delivery driver, perhaps without a self-governing bike, you may have to watch your speed.
I'm not gonna lie, the delivery drivers, like, listen, I love DoorDash. I love all my DoorDash drivers and like Uber Eats drivers. Shout out to you guys, you know. But they fly like on the streets, like they are flying. Like as a pedestrian, yeah, it'll help pedestrians because as a pedestrian, when you're just walking and you see a person with a big DoorDash bag on their back, on one of those scooters, they're moving. Like we're talking about like they have to be moving at like 25, 30. And because there's such a small, like you're looking out for cars. You're not expecting somebody on a bike to be moving that fast. And like they don't pay attention to stoplights or anything. They go past stoplights. So you might get hit. Because you have the right of way to walk across the street. All the cars are stopped, but somebody on an e-bike flying at 30 miles an hour just blows past the stoplight.
Because starting on Friday, the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit applies to all e-bikes, e-scooters, and pedal assist commercial bicycles, according to City Hall. We're told the NYPD will handle the enforcement of this speed limit, as they do, of course, for vehicles. And we're expecting to learn more throughout the day about how exactly they plan to do that and whether the existing motor vehicle speed cameras, for example, in the city, will be able to do the same job for now a different mode of transportation and a different speed limit, and how enforcement is even possible when most e-bikes don't have license plates and aren't registered. Delivery company DoorDash has said they support the new legislation and that they worked with the Adams administration to help implement this. Janet Schroeder, the director of the NYC Vehicle Safety Alliance, says the enforcement is the key.
If there's no consequence, behavior doesn't change because consequence shapes behavior. So if there is a license plate that can catch someone going above 15 miles per hour, or even worse, leaving a scene of a crash, that's why we need license plates to enforce laws like 15 mile per hour, don't ride on the sidewalk, don't fly through red lights.
And again, we have been told by City Hall that some sort of update is coming later on in the day, which will include video materials and some answers to the questions we posed earlier about enforcement. We will, of course, bring you the very latest starting.
It's going to be interesting with this, what happens with this. Yeah, I think the most detrimental stuff is, one, moving at like 30 plus miles an hour, and then flying past, and while doing that, flying past a red light. That's like, this is not good. That's where you almost hit people. And I guarantee you, if they actually were to hit you or like whatever, they're not going to stop and sit there. They're going to like just drive off. So it's like, it's one of those situations where it's like e-bikes have become, even though we have bike safety from cars and stuff like that, even though that safety isn't that good, but like the modes of transportation between pedestrians, bikes, and cars in New York, it's there, but it's not there all the way. Again, we still have issues where pedestrians and bikes are just not separated enough. You know, so like I think bike lanes and stuff like that have been created in New York, and they have their own space now. But oftentimes it leads to a lot of conflicts at these little islands at the end of the blocks where because somebody's on a bike, they're not really paying attention to the stoplights around them. And this also impacts cross traffic. So people who are actually driving and they have the right of way, there are people on e-bikes who just don't pay attention to that. So we're going to see what happens. Yeah, have an e-bike lane. There just needs to be like I don't know. There needs to be like I don't know. I don't know how you do this because it is a very compact area. You know, this would actually you actually need to sit down with transit engineers and you know like urban planners and actually like think about how you're gonna do this because this is a lot. This is a lot. You have to account for people not following the rules, which is the main issue. Yeah, make a bike highway out of it. Yeah, that would be really nice, honestly. And I think, you know, this right now, if like I think if we designed roads so that it's like certain streets so that they are like maybe half bikes, half cars, right? And then I think because bikes are they're off in this little gutter, you know what I'm saying? This little like gutter, like side gutter. And so like they're really sneaky because they're behind all these trees and stuff like that. So you can't really see them coming. And even though I like that there's trees and stuff along the streets, you can't really see them coming. And they can't see you coming walking across the street as a pedestrian. And so, I think there needs to be more visibility for bikes. And that's the issue. There's not enough visibility for them.
On the news at 5 o'clock. Here on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, Doug Williams, CBS News, New York.
Construction worker has died after falling more than 40 feet into a pit at a Hudson Yards work site.
Okay, so this goes to recently. There's a lot of stuff going on with the East River tunnels, but this was interesting. I just saw this story. It came up on my feed the other day, and I remember I was actually on the High Line and I was getting like video footage of the Hudson River tunnels that are being built between New York and New Jersey for Amtrak and New Jersey Transit. And the pit is far. It's like it's deep. Like like that's a far fall. And so I was looking at it. I remember I was sitting there and I was like, what if like I actually like what if I dropped my phone or something like that while I was recording? I was like, if I drop my phone down there, it's cooked. And I was like, if I fell down there, I would be cooked. And so like the fact that there's like we have construction workers, right? And still in the big 2025, construction safety is like at the point where a construction worker can still fall down into a pit, right? And die on the job at a rail infrastructure project. It's just kind of crazy, you know? Like the fact that like it's just safety for construction workers is just not there.
The area is part of the massive federally funded Gateway project aimed at modernizing train infrastructure on the west side. And as Natalie Duddridge reports, the accident is raising questions about safety protocols.
It's really sad. I mean, because sometimes you leave in the morning and, you don't know if you're coming back.
Chopper 2 shows firefighters and EMS crew rushing to a construction site in Hudson Yards after fire officials say a worker fell more than 50 feet into a deep pit.
Yeah, so there's the High Line over there, right? And then here's the actual pit. So this is where the trains are going to go. And this is like really far. Like this is really deep. And this hasn't been covered up. I think one of the things I said in that video was a YouTube short. And I was like, oh, like this is like a rare chance, like a rare opportunity to see like the open cut tunnel this far. And this is like really deep. So it's a shame like that there's not enough. Apparently there's a lack of safety for construction workers working on this project.
From the top or halfway up. He was working on the wall.
The FDNY says the man had been working on a freshly poured concrete wall inside the excavation site, part of what's known as the Hudson Yards concrete casing project, when he fell.
He was working on a wall. You'd think he was strapped in. If he wasn't working on a wall, I don't know what happened.
Firefighters.
Also, just a side note, the fact that everybody has a stereotypically New York accent is just, it's killing me. It's killing me. I'm not going to lie.
Working on a wall, you'd think he was strapped in. If he wasn't working on a wall, I don't know what happened.
Firefighters used heavy equipment and ropes to reach him.
Within minutes, they set up a high point anchor and lowered a Stokes basket. And about 5 to 10 minutes after that, they were able to hoist the victim up
When first responders got to him at the bottom of the pit, he was unconscious.
Checked the victim for a pulse. They determined there was no pulse and no breathing.
He was rushed to the hospital but could not be saved.
He'll be in my prayers tonight.
The Gateway Development Commission and Amtrak confirmed the worker was an employee of the New York Concrete Corporation, saying in a statement, "Our thoughts are with his loved ones during this difficult time. All work is suspended on the site while the incident is under investigation." Officials say the Hudson Yards concrete casing site is a complex infrastructure project, part of the Gateway.
Yeah, so this might, because all right, if you know, the funding for the Hudson River tunnels it's a lot of interesting stuff happening with that, especially when it comes to federal funding under the Trump administration. So there's a lot of stuff, tomfoolery happening with the administration when it comes to funding this project. And yeah, so this is probably going to be one of those situations similar to like SEPTA, where it's like the federal government is going to have something to say about it. It's going to become like a whole thing. So I'm just like, I'm just predicting it that this is going to become an issue, like a safety issue.
Tunnel system that's expected to replace and expand aging rail tunnels between New York and New Jersey.
And they're working hard to hopefully build a safe and secure city for us for the future. So my heart goes out for them.
OSHA is now investigating what led up to the fall and if safety measures were followed.
Yeah, I really hope that, you know, because it's like working on a project, like when I was there, when you're physically there looking at this project, and even all these infrastructure projects, they're huge, you know? And so like there needs to be safety for the construction workers. We can't just be putting them out there. You know, it's just not acceptable. So, you know, I'm hoping that, you know, just things get better. Yeah, RIP.
Number one priority is safety. They don't care about anything else. They don't care how long it takes. Safety first.
In Hudson Yards,
Right.
Natalie Duddridge, CBS News, New York.
Well, Metro North is expanding its.
All right, now staying in New York, we're gonna go to our next project. The next project that well, it's not really an infrastructure project that much. It's really a service expansion. So Metro North is expanding to Albany, which is insane. Okay, first of all, I kind of low key called this at the beginning. I think maybe 2 weeks ago when it came to like express services. So Metro North has been implementing all these they call it the super express services. And these super express services are faster than some Amtrak trains. I know the super express services on the New Haven line are faster than the Acela, which is, I don't have any words for that. It's just faster than the Acela, which is kind of crazy. And now they implemented a super express service between Grand Central and Midtown New York City, all the way up to Poughkeepsie. So they implemented that, and I was wondering why they implemented a super express service there, because I was like, I mean, Poughkeepsie it's a nice city and all that, but it's not a New Haven. You know what I'm saying? It's not like an anchor city. So I was wondering why they did that. Well, in the spring, Governor Hochul just announced that Metro North will be most likely extending that round trip, that super express round trip. They will be extending the service all the way up to Albany, which is insane. Like that is like this is the intercity service now. This isn't a commuter rail service. This is a flat out intercity service at that point. You know, are the seats comfortable enough for a 4-hour journey? I think that's like a 4-hour journey or something like that. Are they comfortable enough for that on a Metro North train? Probably not. But the prices are going to be cheap, capped at $40. So that's going to be great. $40 fares. Once a day, it's going to be a daily round trip. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be daily, as in starting in Albany and then going down to New York City, and then from New York City back to Albany. It's probably going to be like that. you know, I wish it was the other way around as well. You know, that I think we should have 2 daily round trips, one going from New York City out to Albany, and then coming back from Albany back to New York City. But you know, whatever. I thought we have to start somewhere, and I have no doubt that this is also because the MTA has been getting the new Siemens chargers as well. So it kind of opens up that possibility because they have more equipment. I don't know about rail cars. I still feel like there's a little bit of a rail car shortage on that aspect, and who knows if these shoreliners will get replaced anytime soon. But yeah, so this is really interesting. This is let's see what they have to say.
Service to the state capital. The round trip from Grand Central to Albany will begin this spring. Governor Hochul made the announcement earlier today. The expansion is a less expensive alternative to Amtrak. The Metro North fares will be on the lower end of Amtrak, with one-way tickets starting around $40 and will be fixed. Amtrak price can increase up to more than $100.
Dang, that was quick.
Good.
She's completely out of focus, by the way. Yeah, no. So they're basically re-implementing that one Amtrak service out there. But again, having the $99 cap out to Albany is like $99 to go out to Albany on an Amtrak train is that's gonna hurt your wallet, exactly. Like, and so having that $40 trip on a Metro North train, hey, like the seats might not be that comfortable, but it might not be as fast. Who knows? We still have to see what that schedule is going to look like. But that's still like a lot better than what is currently available on Amtrak. So.
Good evening, Lydia and John. I am at the Albany Rensselaer Amtrak station. Now, this is where Governor Hochul announced that Amtrak would be restoring service between Albany and Penn Station starting December 1st. And come spring, Albany is also getting a Metro North line that'll be going from Albany to Grand Central. Amtrak also announcing the restoration of service between Boston and Albany. Amtrak service between Albany and New York City was disrupted earlier this year when the East River Tunnel was in need of repairs. Amtrak President Roger Harris says that project is on time and on budget, but is not expected to be completed until 2027. Harris also says they will be capping coach tickets from Amtrak's Empire Service Line at $99. Hochul says she's been working with Amtrak and the MTA to restore capacity in the New York City-Albany corridor.
When we implemented congestion pricing, I vowed that we had to do so much more to make it easier to get to and from Manhattan without a car. Now, if we're asking people to drive less, they need to have more reliable alternatives.
Again, Governor Hochul announcing that
I won't be satisfied until. No, I wanted to reach Buffalo too. I'm not gonna lie, and it should. The MTA is a state agency, right? So, listen, why don't we have more? And even though we're supporting Amtrak as a state-run service, the Empire Corps as a state-run service, like, listen, like, why not just have Metro North intercity trains? You know, why can't we can just fully do Metro North intercity trains, like all the way? Why not? Like if we're already taking on the work for Amtrak, we might as well go all the way with that.
Daily round trip service between Albany and Penn Station will be restored starting December 1st. And again, Metro North is launching its very own line starting next spring. Reporting live in Rensselaer, Karina Dominguez, News 10 ABC.
Yeah, so the route between Boston and Albany, they were doing critical work on the infrastructure there, so like track work on the infrastructure there, and so it was originally not originally, but it became like a shuttle bus or whatever for a while, and so I think the state of New York was like trying to push Amtrak to get these projects done quicker. And so now the service on that section is going to be reinstated, with the train is basically coming back. So people have that one seat ride again, and it's going to do that Lakeshore Limited like split service or whatever. Oh my gosh. The the out of focus shot is hurting my eyes, man. But yeah. So yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, so yeah, the Lakeshore Limited, it's basically, they're basically reinstating the full Lakeshore Limited back. All right, next one. Is this next one and the last one? Yeah, I think this is the next one and the last one. All right, so Midwest route. We're gonna go to Ohio, and we're gonna see what is going on with Ohio's intercity rail.
The Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission is pushing for a new Amtrak train route nearly 50 years after they departed in 1979.
Kirsten Lindquist is on your side with the latest on this project. So if you didn't know, Columbus is one of the largest cities in the country that doesn't have any kind of passenger rail system. But they're looking to change that by collaborating with Fort Wayne, Indiana, as well as the Southwestern Pennsylvania Commission to bring trains back to Central Ohio really soon. And that commitment includes a $650,000 check to the Midwest Connect project. Last week, we told you about Hilliard's $50,000 investment, and take a look at this. This is a rendering of what that station could look like in Hilliard. Other communities across Ohio are also chipping in another $400,000, so a pretty large purse here. Now, the city has already identified 2 possible spots for transit hubs near I-270 and Britton Parkway, along with Brown Park Drive. And as far as what these routes they have in mind, well, here's a look at that map. That Midwest Connect corridor would connect Chicago and Pittsburgh with stops right here in Columbus. City leaders view passenger rail as a long-term investment.
Oh, there's no like lines on the map. They're just telling us where the cities are. Okay. Yeah, I guess so Chicago. I was waiting for the lines to show up. But yeah, okay, so yeah, Chicago to Columbus to Pittsburgh. I wasn't expecting Pittsburgh to actually be there because everybody always talks about the 3Cs and D corridor, which is like, it would be like this or something like that. So everybody always talks about that corridor. But Chicago to Columbus to Pittsburgh that's an interesting one. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you're gonna have to get Indiana. I mean, it's nice to see that communities along the corridor are getting involved and they want stops. I guess there's like a real push for more passenger rail in this area, in this region, when there should be more passenger rail in this region. There really should. I have no doubt that that's because of like the success of like the Borealis and stuff. This region is really like aiming for more passenger rail. Again, we covered Pennsylvania is in a weird spot when it comes to public transportation, so Pittsburgh might be off the tables for now. But like Chicago to Columbus should definitely be a thing.
And in mobility, economic development, and sustainability. And this push for passenger rail comes as Central Ohio is projected to have a population of 3 million by 2050. There have also been additional discussions of other routes to connect Central Ohio with new trains. The Federal Railroad Administration has approved 4 different proposed routes, and one of them is called the 3C and D, which would connect Cleveland, Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati together. That route is a top priority for them. On your side in downtown Columbus, I'm Kirsten Lindquist. Bye.
Yeah, so the Cardinal runs through there, and then also the Lakeshore Limited as well. That's basically all they have. So like, like Columbus, so like so like Columbus, I think Columbus has the Cardinal now. But yeah, there just needs to be more service in this area in general. Like there's no way that the only trains that are running through Ohio are long distance daily trains. Like that's crazy. And also Ohio is like relatively flat And when I mean relatively flat, I mean like really flat. So it's like I don't understand why there isn't more rail transportation in this area. Yeah, they need to start. We need to start moving. So Cincinnati and Cleveland, they have the Lakeshore Limited. Yeah, Eastern is pretty because that's when you get closer to Pittsburgh. But that's why I was like, having Pittsburgh on this list is kind of that's a stretch. This is a stretch, not just because of geography, but also just because the state is in a weird situation. So that's a stretch. I think, connecting Columbus to Chicago with more frequent service is probably the best place to start, and then also connecting the cities within the state with any service would be a start. So yeah.
Columbus is the largest Midwest city without a passenger rail system, but a new investment may be changing that.
A plan to create a passenger rail corridor called Midwest Connect is moving forward tonight. Good evening. Thanks for joining us for NBC4 at 5:30. I'm Colleen Marshall.
And I'm Kyle Beachy. Jennifer and Jared are both off today. NBC4's Gracie Collins joins us live to tell us about this investment that's responsible for the development. Gracie?
Kyle and Colleen, $650,000 is being invested into this project. This is step one of the process and a signal that we're ready to move on to step two.
We are at a point now where there's a dedicated effort with communities, big cities, business community, advocates, all pushing in the same direction. And at the same time,
a plan to connect Chicago to Pittsburgh with stops in Columbus is picking up steam. The Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission and its out-of-state rail partners announced the investment, with communities in Ohio and Indiana contributing.
Connecting those cities would be a very attractive route for everybody from businesses to students going to college to sports fans and more. We're really interested in how it could connect people to jobs.
The Federal Railroad Administration has a three-step process to go from studying a line to actually building it. This investment is meant to show that they're ready for the next step.
This next phase of study is going to answer those questions everybody has. How fast? Where will the stations be? How will it work with freight? How often will service be?
The cities of Hilliard and Dublin each contributed $50,000. They have also both allotted space in hopes of housing a train station.
It's going to take the entire region, I think, to make this happen.
Christopher Will with the city of Dublin says they've started having conversations with residents about the possibility.
Everyone that we've talked to in Dublin is very excited about this, from residents to business and other stakeholders. Really see this as an opportunity to bring mobility and transportation.
It's interesting to see that Dublin is interested in this. I'm pretty sure Dublin is like almost like it's a city, right? But it's like a suburb of like Columbus or whatever. Like it's not really it's like really close. So I don't know if they could get a station. I mean, they're putting money into it. So but putting a station directly in their city, I don't know about that. Yeah, it's one of the largest suburbs.
Options to the community.
When you talk to people about passenger rail, their imaginations start getting excited, where they think about, oh, this maybe means I could have a job somewhere else and not have to drive.
There is still a long road ahead. Murdoch says the earliest we may see the rail up and running is 2030. Local for you in Columbus, I'm Gracie Collins, NBC4.
Thanks for watching. For more NBC4.
Anyways, yep, that's the last story. That's all I got. And what I mean by all I got, that was 2 hours. Talked about how many stories was that? Honestly, that was like, I think that was 21 stories. 21 stories. So yeah. That was a long stream. Anyways, it's probably gonna take me forever to edit this. Got big news coming up. Really big news actually coming up on the main channel. So look out this week. And yeah, WW stream, everybody. I'll see you guys next week.